lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Now, we're joined by a whole bunch of people as we are in the interim stages between the two debates, which will go out in a moment on Nathan Oakley 1980. But while I'm setting up for that second show, I'll hand you over to the panel so you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever the hell is in there.
Io sono imparando parlare italiano.
Ah, davvero? Sì, da spagnolo all'italiano non serve tanto.
Spagnolo e italiano molto similari.
Sì, è vero.
Fetch me my babel fish.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Italian. Italian and Spanish is very similar, so just gotta tweak the Spanish a little bit and make it Italian.
Yeah, it's great.
Jose, your surprise in your latest video was that real? I got the feeling that you knew it was going to do that, but your surprise sounded.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna do that, but that was I kind of recreated on the first time I saw it. I go like, and then this body's like, what the hell is going on? You know, I narrated it in top of it because in the actual narration I was like, beautiful, look at this, you know. And then I kind of narrated it in top of it, but it's cool, you know. I just want to recreate my first actual emotion.
It does fuck your head how that can happen, doesn't it? Even on a sphere or a ball.
It does, yeah.
Like either model, it's like, how the hell can that do that?
Yeah, some guy like, so what do you mean? Like, what does this mean? This cannot work in a globe or some comment like that. I haven't comment back, but like, what the hell? I haven't saying that. I'm saying it's a trippy effect, you know.
I think what it proves. I actually think what it proves is that it's not actually a reflection, because you can't have a reflection with a boat traveling through the reflection and still being there, because it can't be reflecting if the boat's in the way. So it kind of proves that it's not a reflection.
Yes, like Ranty caught it once. Something. I mean, really, I caught it. What Ranty caught very similar. I think Ranty's was a lot clearer than mine, but still is the same kind of effect. The letters reflected underneath itself, not even in the water. The letters were not reflected in the water. Actually, it was reflected underneath the same boat, and then the boat passing in front of it, and the letters still reflected underneath that boat passing in front. Some weird shit, unexplainable.
Can I ask Sebastian a question?
His way for a moment.
Okay.
Just so you know the German intention. I could feel how he stood up from his PC and walked away. The Germans just have such connection.
You could just feel it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, isn't it? That's why. No, I won't go that way. It would be nope. Just wanted to say something really, really stupid, but nope. I don't know.
Nah, Zinder. I got mad respect for you, Zinder.
Thank you. Oh, I mean, but it was really fun. Defending the Globe Earth against Roxanne. I mean, I know I made some really stupid arguments, but I think many people would argue like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Nice do you feel like
whatever, right?
It's nice that you had a conversation rather than doing
why should I doubt it?
It's nice that you had a conversation rather than do what Rumpus did, which was just basically.
Sebastian is back.
Isn't it the most painful there, Zinder, when you actually walk back through all that stuff? Like, just.
I was gonna ask him that. I was gonna say, did you feel like you had to kind of put the ignorance out there just to have that type of argument coming from a global perspective? How did it feel for you?
So sorry, I didn't understand. worst part, my earphones have a little
No,
bad
it's
connection
all
thing.
right. It's all right. No, what I was asking you was when you were making the arguments as a Glober, right? So how did you feel having to use that base kind of everyday ignorance to make those arguments instead of using what you already know and what you've already learned?
Well,
How did that make you feel?
yeah, I get kind of stupid because I mean, I could have used other arguments which protect the globe Earth much better, right? Than NASA picture and space agencies and people, the other people, like the scientists, know what they're doing, etc., etc. I could have. I could have mentioned the ships disappearing behind the horizon, and from the state of ignoring the angle of view things that was discussed. If I would have wanted to go that way, right? Because as a globe earther, I would have never heard of it, right? So yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
So you feel like at the end you would have had to like kind of go backwards in your knowledge of these basic things that we're talking about.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the only way I could have presented those arguments, ignoring some things I learned here. So yeah,
See, because that's one of the things that always bugs me out about people that want to make fun of flat earthers, because it's like we have to almost relearn the entire heliocentric model, depending on how much you knew beforehand. But you got to relearn the model in order to even have this arguments with these guys.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Zinder, Sebastian, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Jose, Eric, Daniel, Chocolate Saiyan and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you very much.
Yo, yo. Ciao. Right, let's dispense.
Hello.
Let's dispense with housekeeping. Can we resume from where we were in the last hangout, where we were just getting to step one of the scientific method with regards to Cavendish?
Sure, I'll give a brief summary for the people watching this individually and they haven't been tuned into the last live debate. So basically, at the end of number 650, we had Sebastian asserting that the Cavendish quote-unquote experiment was somehow scientific validity of gravity, and we pointed out that that's not the current scientific, again in quotes, understanding of what we should use and utilise and blame for apparently the attraction that we apparently experience when described in mathematics. So Einsteinian gravity snapped the wand in two, but apparently that's not any problem for the Newtonian gravity that's still being asserted by Sebastian. So we're now at the stage that we're talking about the Cavendish quote-unquote experiment and its lack of a step one in the scientific method, lack of an observed phenomena.
Are you there, Sebastian?
Yes.
So you're a physicist, right?
Well, not quite. Close to my master's, but
you adhere to the scientific method where possible, right?
Yes.
So step one of the scientific method is to observe observe a phenomena or ask a question, correct?
Yes, and in the case of the Cavendish experiment, this is not like you don't start with like blindly doing this kind of experiment. The kind of idea comes like further back from Newton and Galileo Galilei, and observations that things like fall to the ground, and based on that, Newton made the assertion, since things tend to fall like with the same acceleration if you exclude drag in the air. And then he made the claim that this is one example for a universal force where masses attract each other. And
so
then
what was his independent variable in that experiment?
Well, there is no independent variable there. It's just he observed something, that these bodies were all accelerated at the same rate, independent of their mass.
Do we agree that a scientific experiment must manipulate the independent variable to give an effect to so the dependent variable can be observed? Otherwise, it's not science.
Yeah, okay. If you want to, if you want to put it like that, then in this case, the thing would be that the thing that you can manipulate, that you can change, is the mass of the object that you're dropping, and it turns out that the rate of acceleration is independent.
So, if the mass of the object is changed, wouldn't that then be the cause, mass?
Not sure what you mean with be the cause.
Well, do we need a definition of the independent variable? If you're going to change the mass, that would then be your cause in your scientific experiment, would it not?
I'm actually not quite sure. Can you do you have like a source or something? Because I don't know. Like, we don't use this kind of exact wording. Are you
kidding me? You want a citation for the definition of an independent variable in a scientific experiment? Are you kidding?
Yeah, or the kind of thing where you say like you need a dependent and independent variable.
All right.
Well, just because I'm just not sure about basically the wording of this. Maybe it's because I learned this in German, so.
So just forgive me. Where is it you're at in this? You're doing a master's degree in physics, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And you're not familiar with the independent variable and how it must be manipulated by the observer to prove that there's an effect. I mean, I can do this, but I'll be honest, I'm just in the middle of playing Command and Conquer, and I wasn't expecting this to be an issue. If you want me to come out of Command and Conquer to get you the citation, but I would expect a physicist at master's level to understand what an independent variable does in a scientific experiment. And if that's not actually the case, I will come out of it. But I would say that this is terrible for a master's level student in physics to not know this stuff. This is really basic high school stuff.
Sorry, okay, then let's do differently. Just give me a quick like 2-sentence summary of what you understand, like.
No problem.
Or describe an experiment with an independent variable.
No problem. A scientific hypothesis is the expression of a cause and effect relationship. You identify the independent variable and you will manipulate that to prove there is a cause in your scientific hypothesis. You will also have a null hypothesis and you will also have an alternative hypothesis. And when you successfully formulate your hypothesis, you will then conduct your experiment where you will indeed manipulate your believed cause to prove that there is an effect that you believe is what your hypothesis is claiming. If there's anything that I got wrong there, this is the point to tell me and I can go to the citations.
That sounds okay so far. What would be the independent variable?
Your cause.
Well, you said mass.
Your cause. You presumed cause. This is the crux of
okay.
This is the problem with the.
Okay, then can I think I understand now what you understand with this. But isn't then or at what point do you think the Cavendish experiment doesn't work?
Well,
because gravity is like there. Your hypothesis is there's an attractive force between masses.
So that would be
but you identified your independent variable as mass.
Hold on a second. Hold on. So you're stating something that we've already gone over. So the magic of that you have just described was snapped into by the bending of space-time. However, if we are to assume that you are correct, that would be an effect, right? Objects of mass attracting one another, that would be an effect, correct?
Yes.
And you would assert that the cause of said effect is gravity, correct?
Yes.
Right, so a cause would be your independent variable, the thing that you presume causes the effect.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, really? So the IV-DV relationship is... Hold on. So literally, as Anthony has asserted, the IV-DV relationship in a hypothesis is beyond you. Are you lying about being at university? Because I would absolutely expect you to understand implicitly the IV and DV relationship if you are studying science. And it seems that you are denying this, which makes me think that you are either lying or you are incompetent and on the wrong course.
Maybe he needs a...
hold on, let me hear his answer.
I don't think I'm on the wrong course. I'm not lying about this, and I was just...
Sorry, you have asked me if it is necessary in a scientific experiment to have an independent variable, your presumed cause. That's the question you have posed to me. So, that makes me a little annoyed because you have claimed that you are a practitioner of science. Well, this is science, and if you don't understand that you have an independent variable, your presumed cause of the effect, then you're either lying about the course you're on or incompetent. There's only those two choices. Because if you are to deny this, you are denying the very essence of hypothesis-driven experimentation.
I'm not sure what you want me to say to this.
I'm asking, are you denying the very nature of hypothesis-driven experimentation, sir? Because to question the need for an independent variable makes your assertion that you understand any of this stuff very questionable indeed.
I agree.
I didn't question that.
You did.
Oh, really? You said, is there a need for an independent variable? That was your question to me.
Because that's definitely not what I said.
You asked me to give you the definition for an independent variable, and I said to you, I'm in the middle of a game, but if this is a contentious issue for a master's level student of physics, then we have a problem. Do you not remember?
Yes, I do, but I didn't.
Right, so we are definitely talking about the independent variable, the presumed cause, in the case of Cavendish, gravity. So, sir, given that you now deny that we need an independent variable in a cause and effect relationship, a presumed cause, then I will ask you this. Your presumed cause in Cavendish, regardless of whether or not you understand the IV-DV relationship in an experiment, is gravity, something you absolutely cannot vary and manipulate. So if you do not at this stage understand the problem with your quasi-experiment based on mathematical formula and multiple variables, then you are not in place here or at university.
Just what I want to say to this is that the thing that you can vary in that experiment that you want to vary is the mass of the objects.
No, sorry. The thing you're trying to vary is your presumed cause, and we established only moments ago that that would be gravity. The effect would be objects of mass attracting one another in the bullshit world of Newtonian Cavendish gravity, superseded by an Einsteinian, as we've already pointed out. However, going down this path of nonsense with Newtonian and Cavendish gravity, the fact remains your observed phenomena is a man-made device, and your independent variable is absolutely not manipulatable by you, the researcher. You cannot manipulate gravity. That would be what you needed for it to be science. An independent variable that you presume is the cause and you vary and manipulate to establish whether or not it is the cause of the effect, even though your effect is a man-made device.
This is the point where you need to concede that you have to manipulate the variable.
Well, the thing that I have to manipulate is, like, I have to be able to change the masses.
No, that's your effect.
You're not trying to mass causes it.
Listen, that's your effect. We went through this only moments ago. You're trying to establish the cause of that effect. So you're not going to vary the effect by changing the masses. You're claiming the cause... Shut up! Shut up! You're claiming the cause is gravity. Are you not?
Can I just make...
Are you claiming the cause is gravity, yes or no?
Will you give me a short chance to...
It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. Is your assertion, as made on the previous show, that the cause of this shit is gravity, is that still your assertion, that the cause is gravity? Yes or no?
Massive bodies attract each other.
Yeah, that's an effect.
Or no.
That's an effect. Are you deaf? Are you deaf? That's an effect. You're claiming, or are you not? That's what I'm asking. Are you or are you not still claiming that the cause is gravity? Yes or no?
When you put it like that, yes.
Right. Well, that would be your independent variable in a scientific hypothesis, my friend. And are you capable of varying and manipulating gravity? No. So it fails. It is not science. Do you understand?
How I can manipulate gravity? I can change the masses, which changes...
sorry, again. The mass attracting the other mass is the effect.
Dependent variable.
Hello? You seem to be confusing or conflating the dependent variable and the independent variable. Again, demonstrating that you do not understand the IV-DV relationship in science. Poor show, sir. Failure if I was testing you. And I am.
I think that it's time that we ask him, does he understand the cause and effect relationship in science?
No, he doesn't. We've established that. He does not understand it.
Why don't you understand this at this level?
I'm pretty sure I do understand it. But
oh, right. So you understand that you need an independent variable to vary and manipulate, and it is your presumed cause of the effect.
Let's assume it. Well,
I'm willing to...
You don't need to assume it. You don't.
Okay, then I'm so stupid. Then please explain to me, or
you're so stupid. You just said it.
Experiment that adheres to this, to these principles. Like, tell me how you would conduct an experiment.
Yeah, the temperature of the boiling point of water would adhere to the scientific method because you can vary what you believe to be the cause, which would be the temperature, right? That would be an adherence to the scientific method. There's a lot of them out there. Why are you asking these questions if you're at master's level?
What's the independent and dependent variable?
The temperature. You're going to vary the temperature to see whether or not you can put it higher or lower and see whether water will evaporate or boil or whatever. There's loads of ones that you can do.
Again, sorry, hold on a second. Hold on. Stop. Sebastian, stop. Why are you quizzing us about our understanding of the scientific method when we are specifically detailing what you claim was proof of an outdated version of this thing called gravity? So you're claiming this. We're not claiming anything. We're not putting any scientific experiments forward. You are. So don't quiz Anthony about what he understands about this. It's your claim. So don't ask him what would prove gravity. You're here to prove it. You're the one who believes in it. So if you want to tell me that it's science, you'll establish an independent and dependent variable in an alternative and a null hypothesis, and you'll hand it over to anybody who can choose to actually perform an experiment to validate or invalidate your presumed cause of the effect. Now, we know what your presumed cause of this effect is: gravity. Unfortunately, you as a researcher, or me as an individual, cannot vary and manipulate gravity. So it's a nonsense. It's not science. So to claim you've got scientific proof of gravity is wrong. You do not. You have a pseudoscience bullshit observation of a man-made device with a mathematical hypothesis. This is not science. Okay?
It's conceptual. It's conceptual. Okay?
Yeah, but then how do you explain what you see in the Cavendish experiment? I mean, then there has to be some explanation.
Who gives a crap? It's just been claimed as scientific proof of gravity. It's not. I couldn't give a crap what you extrapolate from a circus sideshow with a couple of balls in a shed. If you want to extrapolate your religious belief in gravity from it, that's your bag. But that's all it is, a religious belief based on balls hanging in a shed. Not an observed phenomena, not science. No independent variable, an assumption with mathematics of this thing called gravity. That's not science, okay?
I'm sorry, but I still don't think you get the point.
Excuse me. I don't think you understand what a bloody independent variable is. So don't tell me I don't understand the point. You don't think an independent variable is necessary, and you claim to be at master's level for physics. That makes me think you're lying.
Okay, one more time. I want to know...
Are you an actor, Sebastian?
No, I'm not an actor. I'm not paid or position or anything.
No, I'm not. You don't have to be paid to be an actor. You could just be lying.
It's a polite way of saying pretender clown.
No, I can even tell you what I'm working on right now in research, but I don't think it's very interesting, and it doesn't really... Like, I shouldn't have even said that. It doesn't really change anything about what I want to say.
Doesn't change the fact that you don't understand the IV-DV relationship in a scientific hypothesis.
Imagine I don't know anything about gravity, but I have seen this experiment.
It's not hard to imagine that, to be honest.
Thank you. So imagine that you've seen this experiment that Cavendish conducted with these balls, and what you can clearly see.
I've seen that attraction before, like water molecules.
I'm sorry. What's going on, Sebastian? So basically you're going to sidestep every objection we have for the Cavendish non-scientific experiment that is not scientific proof of gravity, and you're going to continue to assert that it is. Sorry, do you want to acknowledge at least one of our objections? Just see if you've actually listened to anything we've said. Let's see.
I don't want to acknowledge, like, I'm still trying to convince you of this point. So
well, maybe you weren't listening. I'm not asking that.
Listening.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking you perhaps to acknowledge at least one of our objections, just so that we know that you have at least understood our objections before you continue to assert this non-scientific experiment as being proof of gravity, as you seem to be doing again. You seem to be circle jerking back to an assertion that Cavendish proves gravity. So let's imagine that Cavendish is blah, 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 not interested. You don't seem to be acknowledging any of our objections to it. So now I'm asking you to just name one of our objections so far.
One of the objections was that I'm trying to basically prove my effect, which is gravity, and I can't...
No. Your effect is not gravity. That's your cause. Your effect is objects of mass attracting one another according to you. So you don't understand what your cause and effect relationship is, as asserted by us on several occasions. So now you are changing the cause and the effect. The effect that you observe is not the cause. Listen! Stop talking! I am berating you. You will be berated. You are now changing the cause and the effect. Your effect is not your cause. Objects of mass attracting one another is not the cause. That would be your assertion of gravity, sir. So let's not get confused and change them around.
Okay.
So you're confused then, right? You've just
No, I just said
them.
I misspoke there. When I said that, I mixed up effect and cause in that one sentence. Right. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I understand the Cavendish experiment implicitly. I don't conflate the terms. I don't misunderstand the cause and effect relationship that isn't there. I don't misunderstand this. You do. Yet you seem to be reasserting this nonsense like I should somehow give it credence.
But can you at least concede that you do not have any explanation for why this experiment works in the way it does?
What it doesn't always work. Not a so you're literally going to piss it in my face. Yeah, name one of my objections for why I have already explained we do not need to.
Okay, maybe I need to go back a little bit. By it works, I don't mean proves gravity. I just mean...
Then who cares? Then who cares?
Well, scientists care.
Excuse me. So you're here asserting it's proof of gravity, but let's not worry about whether or not it proves gravity and keep talking about it like anybody gives two craps.
Well, because, I mean, I certainly still believe that, but you don't, so I'm trying to go a little bit in your direction and then find out what you think about it. And
sorry, think about what?
It's pseudoscience.
Just finish.
What? Let's think about it. What? Let's think about it. Let's have a little belief about it, shall we? Based on your explanation about your belief in it, like I care. It doesn't prove anything. It's not science. It does not establish gravity as the cause of your claimed effect. In fact, the effect that you claim has been superseded by a completely different set of nonsense scientists from practitioners of pseudoscience. So none of what you said here makes any sense, has any validity, or needs any credence whatsoever from me. So please don't reassert it. Please just acknowledge one of the objections we have for why it is not science. Silence.
I don't get why you don't think, like, why you can't just say it's like it's crap and it's not important. It is a physical effect that you can observe.
But you can't manipulate it.
Sorry, you've just done it again. Absolute retard. It's not an effect. It's the cause. Are you dense? Are you deaf? I've just said this to you in a very stern tone once already. This is not an effect.
That's really nice, but doesn't prove gravity.
Okay, you can drop me from this conversation, but please let me make this one final thing I want to say about
No, acknowledge one of our objections. Just one. You haven't conceded a smegging thing. You've not acknowledged any of our objections. Why would I get you to reassert a new point? I want you to acknowledge at least one of our objections so that we understand that you've at least listened to us.
I tried that earlier and you didn't.
Yeah, what you did was you substituted a cause for an effect. So, no, you didn't re-summarise your position or in any way summarise our objection. You substituted your cause for your effect. That's not highlighting my objection for its lack of observed phenomena and its lack of any ability to independently to vary and manipulate your independent variable. You haven't acknowledged any of that.
Well, let me just help out, Nathan. He did actually say before that he didn't actually know anything about gravity. So he's actually debating something that he has no research or understanding of anyway.
I think the issue lies with the inability for him to accept and concede that he must manipulate the independent variable or it falls outside of science. That's the crescendo of the point.
Understanding on what an experiment really is.
Well, this is what I'm trying to get to. Like, the experiment shows you have these.
Not an experiment.
You have two large metal balls that are.
He's not listening, Anthony. He's literally not listening to him. He's not listening to a word we said. He's just going to circle jerk us back. Let's just stick everyone on mute. So I've asked him probably 5 times to acknowledge one of our points, and he's not. He's now reasserting his point, exactly the same as he is, rumpusing the living daylights out of everybody every single time I ask him for the same thing, which is to acknowledge at least one of our points, which you are refusing point blank to do.
What point do you want me to acknowledge?
Any of them. Not say that you're going to and then misrepresent your current position by substituting your current effect for a cause. Not that, but actually acknowledge one of our points. That's why I stopped you. You see, you seem to employ baller tactics and say, well, I tried to, but you interrupted me. No, what you did was misrepresent your own position and substitute your claimed effect for the new cause, which was gravity, but is now objects of mass attracting one another. So you've switched them around, like I'm not going to notice.
I already conceded that I misspoke in that statement.
Right, so you weren't acknowledging my point. You're not reading back to me one of my objections. All you did was exactly as you've now conceded again. And now you're telling me, oh, I've conceded that. I don't care. Acknowledge one of my objections so that I understand you've at least listened, rather than been sat there waiting for your turn to just reassert your point again.
You want me to concede that I can't manipulate my independent variable.
So it's not smegging science then, dick brain?
Don't you have a rule about not, like, name-calling?
So it is not science then?
Nathan, could I have a
No, I want him to say... So, this is somebody who claims to be going through the education system on this very subject. He needs to now repeat after me. Therefore, it is not science, as asserted by you, Sebastian.
And it's not an experiment either.
That's what I mean. It's not science.
Come on, Sebastian, this is your point.
The problem is I don't really get the opportunity to speak anymore. I get interrupted all the time.
We're not interested.
Oh, right. So it's an obfuscation wanker technique where you play the victim rather than concede. As you've just said, you cannot vary your independent variable. Absolute necessity in a scientific experiment. So you're going to concede. This quasi-experiment is not science.
Concede? Come on.
Don't play the bloody victim.
Okay, I'm not playing the victim. If you say that my independent variable is gravity, then yes, I can't manipulate that. But the way that this experiment is usually understood is...
It's not an experiment.
That what you... Well, it is an experiment if you look at
It's called a machination, Sebastian. It's a machination.
No, hold on. Arwin and Anthony.
That's
right.
not actually science.
It is.
No, it's not. Because
Sebastian,
you're actually
Sebastian.
failing to vary the thing you're trying to prove.
Correct.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. How is that an experiment if you can't vary your variable? I don't.
That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. The thing that you want to vary in that experiment is the mass of the object.
Sorry, and that's what you're trying to vary and manipulate by using your presumed cause to cause that effect. You've just done exactly the same thing again. You've substituted the cause and the effect. You're just an asshole.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you apologised last time. I don't want to hear you apologise when you do the exact same thing again. Do you think you'll slip it by me again? The thing you're trying to cause is the effect. Objects of mass attracting one another. And now you're saying, well, I'm just going to change the mass. No, you're claiming that the cause of that is gravity. And if you're claiming that's the cause, that in a scientific experiment is the independent variable.
Come on, you have to concede this if you're a scientist.
No, it's not, because you can't even quantify that. Like, what would, like, the variable is a number with units.
No,
like
excuse me, no, a variable is not a smegging number. A variable is not something that you vary in mathematics when you're doing science. You stupid idiot.
I didn't get that last one.
You're a stupid idiot.
No, the part before that.
You are stupid if you think that a variable in science is a mathematical number.
Well, but a variable has to be... I have to be able to quantify a variable.
I don't give a crap about what you do with it afterwards. In science, you are physically going to vary something to cause an effect. Now,
yes,
what you claim is the cause is gravity. That's what you claim is the cause. So that, if you're claiming science, is the thing you'll vary and manipulate.
No, the cause is the mass.
Sorry, that would be the effect.
Gravity.
That would be the effect. Masses attracting masses, that's the effect that you're trying to cause. Not the cause. Otherwise, your formula, when you put it into an actual scientific hypothesis, would be mass causes mass attracting mass.
No.
So it's not mass then. You're not going to start varying and manipulating the mass when that's actually your cause.
Well, yeah, of course I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to change the masses to.
Oh right, but that's the effect, isn't it? That's the effect.
On those masses.
That's the effect. So you're varying your independent variable of mass. So not gravity. So mass causes mass attracting mass in your hypothesis. You're an idiot. You're stupid.
No, mass causes...
Yeah, mass causes mass attracting mass. So the effect is mass attracting mass according to you. Your independent variable's mass. So mass causes mass attracting mass. You're an idiot. There's no gravity in that, though, is there? Yeah, dick brain? There's no gravity. So when mass causes mass attracting mass, that's not gravity. So you're going to take your independent variable, you presume cause, after the fact and just label it gravity. You moron. You are stupid.
I don't even need to have, like, I don't even need to presuppose gravity. I can just put the metal balls there, put a certain amount of like weigh them, put them on, and I see that they turn.
So do you think detailing this non-scientific experiment somehow is actually repeating one of our objections back to us, which I've asked you about 10 times to do, but it seems that you've got the typical ball ahead tactic of ignoring every objection we raise.
Okay,
and ploughing on. So now you're back to detailing this quasi-experiment, totally ignoring our objections still.
Yeah, because I still haven't gotten through to the point that I actually want to make in all this time.
Yeah, you're manufacturing a contraption, and then something happens with that contraption that you create. It's a circus show, man.
Yeah, in science, they're exclusively interested in the physical and natural world, natural phenomena. That's where we started. This has no observed phenomena. The thing you're observing is torsion bar twist. That's not a naturally occurring phenomena, you idiot.
Yes, it is. If you twist...
Oh, sorry. It is, according to Dick Brain here, Sebastian, who's starting to piss me off, frankly. So where in nature do we observe torsion bar twist? Don't sigh, you stupid muppet. Where in nature do we observe the naturally occurring phenomena of torsion bar twist, you stupid muppet? Hello? Where in nature do we observe the naturally occurring phenomena of torsion bar twist, you complete muppet? Where?
Look, if you continue to insult me like this...
Yeah, because you're a muppet. Do you think that torsion bar twist is a natural phenomena? You utter retard.
Can I get a word in, Nath? Sebastian, you seem like a clever fella, right? You've obviously looked into this experiment, etc. But you've joined the flat Earth debates. So can I just ask you a couple of questions? Do you know what the circumference of the Earth is?
Like not off the top of my head, 6,000 something kilometers. The circumference
6,000? That's so fucking far off.
So why don't you know the
circumference? That's the supposed radius, right?
Yes, that's the radius. I'm sorry.
Okay, right. That's all I really needed to know. Thank you very much.
Right. Well, at least you're not Laurie. This is Laurie.
So, Sebastian, let's go back to the principle that you're getting wrong. Do we agree or not that you have to manipulate the independent variable to prove your effect?
Yes, I agree with that.
Right. So how are you going to manipulate your gravity that you claim is what you're testing for?
Well, that's the point where it seems like I think we have to just agree to disagree, because
no, it's the point where you accept that it's not science.
Well, no, it's the point where I say what I have to manipulate is the mass to show that the force depends on the size.
No,
of the
you have to
masses.
manipulate the independent variable, the thing you're proving. That's science.
Yeah,
so if you're not going to manipulate
you can't
gravity,
sidestep.
If you're not going to manipulate gravity, it means that you're not
trying to
complying with
prove.
science.
Your presumed cause. Hello, your independent variable is your presumed cause.
How I can explain this any different? When
I
know your dilemma, but that dilemma,
you're not educating
you
us.
enable...
Check out, right, I'm just going to shut them up. This Sebastian asshole thinks he is educating us. What an arrogant piece of shit. You think you're educating me?
I'm shocked.
I've heard the dilemma before. It's an excuse. It's not actually a good reason. You have to figure that out.
What, Sebastian? What is the consequence if you perform an experiment but you don't manipulate your independent variable? What's that called?
Well, that wouldn't be a real experiment. I'm not debating.
So when you're not manipulating your independent variable, in this case gravity, yet you claim it to be an experiment, but you've just admitted that it's not an experiment when you fail to do that, what does that then make Cavendish?
Again, this is why I think we should just leave it at that. I'm trying to...
Oh, let's leave it at the point that we absolutely hand you your own arse with your assertion that Cavendish's scientific proof of gravity. Let's just leave it there. No, we're going to tan your hide with this fact indefinitely until you concede that you have a religious belief in a pseudoscience circus show.
Sebastian, can I ask you a question?
That was the power of silence, which ruined their chocolate. Well done.
I'm sorry, but I'm trying to ask this guy a question because I'm trying to understand where he's coming from with this. All right. The let's take Cavendish, right? Cavendish was the guy who hung balls in the shed and assumed there was gravity in between them, right? That's what he was trying. Right. Okay. So, in that experiment, right? How did he vary gravity?
He changed the masses, so he put different metal balls on this torsion handle, and the amount that the torsion handle turned was greater when the masses were greater. And then you can choose a wide variety of masses, and you can see that the amount of force or the amount of turn that you get on this on the string is proportional to the mass.
Oh, congratulations! Congratulations! You proved that mass causes an effect on the torsion bar. That's
right. So
very
I was
fascinating.
Gonna say, so he varied the mass. He did vary the gravity.
Sorry to interrupt. I gotta drop because the other Jose he wants to come in, so I'm gonna drop and Jose part 2 is gonna come in. Thank you guys.
There's a part 2.
The other thing to consider with Cavendish is what was his hypothesis at the time of the experiment in his paper? What was it that he said that he was testing?
I'm actually not 100% sure about this, but it should have been that he basically tried to test Newton's equation of gravity.
He was trying to weigh the mass of the Earth.
Well, no, yeah, you can also do that, but in
no, that's what he did. That's what his claim was. From that, somebody got a little g constant, right? But his experiments that he claims he was doing was to measure the weight or the mass of the Earth.
Hey, Jose.
That's other Jose.
No, but I mean, they're basically like you need some extra information if you want to know the mass of the Earth or want to weigh the Earth from that. But you get the capital G, the gravitational constant, if you take like Newton's.
If you lie about what's going on. That's
no, you get that anyway. Like you
don't get that anyway. His experiment wasn't to test the gravity of the Earth the way you said it was originally. He was trying to weigh the mass, find out the mass of the Earth. So I don't know why you've got this perception that he was proving gravity. I don't know why you think it's an experiment, and I don't know why you think that changing masses proves anything.
It was all a deduction-based
correct
machination.
So back
assuming
to your claim
assuming.
Let's go back an hour. Let's go back an hour. You originally stated that gravity was provable by everybody, right? Do you now maintain that position, or do you realize that this is nonsense?
No, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't say that gravity was provable by everybody.
You said it's repeated by many people. I say that that's bullshit.
Well, that doesn't mean that that's like. I mean, in principle, anybody.
Oh, right. So it's not real then. It's hypothetically speaking, it's repeatable by everybody, right?
Yes, and it's. I mean, experiments to like test the value of the gravitational constant have been done and are continuing to this day. You can, if you believed that.
That's not an experiment. It's an analysis.
It's just going to.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey Jose.
Hey. So my question is, how do they remove all the noise from all the other forces to measure little g or big G, whichever one they're measuring?
Well, for that, I mean, that's actually a really good question, because that in fact is not simple. That's not an easy thing to do, because you have to be very careful. And the value that Cavendish got originally is pretty good actually for the time, but in terms of what we think now, what we can get in terms of like precision in the value is a lot higher. And you have to make sure you have to use metal balls, because you need something that's very dense usually.
Or magnetic. Perhaps.
Sorry, what's this? I thought you.
No, this is the point. You have to.
I'm
sorry. Have to try to control for all of this. You have to be very careful.
I'm a bit confused.
There's no charge whatsoever on these guys.
So in the Cavendish
is that even possible?
Sorry, what's this value? What's this value? I thought Cavendish was proving gravity. Now you're talking about some value that's gotten better or something. So was it not proof of gravity? Was it not scientifically proving gravity? Then you seem to be talking about some value. That sounds like something mathematical.
Well, the law of gravity that Newton proposed.
What law? What law?
What law? What are you talking about?
Equals minus g m1 m2 over r squared.
No,
Sorry, that's a mathematical formula. That's not a law. That's
gravity.
maths. That's a mathematical formula, not a law.
Yes, it is called. I mean, you can. It's not a law like in.
Oh, so let's get it clear. Now he's conceded quickly. I'll shut him up with the rest of his shite. Not a law. Thank you. So let's just hear it repeated. Not a law.
Do you know where Newton's laws came from? Do you know where he put them? Where they come from? Where is his Bible? Where is his citation for his laws?
Well, he doesn't. I mean, many of the laws that he put forth, he proposed them. He made some basic. And that's how science works. He made some basic observations.
Not the question.
Right, no, he put all of his laws in.
This guy's deaf. This guy's literally deaf. That's not the question. Where? Did you hear the where bit?
Principia Mathematica Naturalis, whatever. I don't speak Latin.
In the Principia, he said, I make no hypothesis for gravitation. He actually said them words, translated from Latin. If you want to cite for that, it's in the Principia, or you can look up, what's his name now? Julius Sumner Miller, who cites it as well. I make no hypothesis of gravitation. And that's what his words were. And he's a PhD.
Just read how many times Newton said if in Principia.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. And all that he did could have been rubbish. And that's why people like Cavendish went out and tried to find out.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, if you're talking about the cause of things, and you say things like, it may have all been rubbish, Cavendish Newton gravity specifically is what we're talking about here, the way you would establish whether or not it's rubbish is to validate or invalidate the cause of your effect. That's what science does. Validates or invalidates the cause of an effect. So not at the end of it we can assume that it's just rubbish. If you want to claim this stuff is science, then it's got scientific validity established through systematic experimentation to establish whether or not your presumed cause in your hypothesis is actually the cause or not. And you've not got that for gravity. Not in the slightest. That's what we've been going over. We've gone over it now for about an hour and 10 minutes with you.
I think what we need to do is conclude this point by saying that the one thing that you need to realize in your studies of at master's level of physics is that your independent variable must be manipulated, otherwise it falls outside the scientific method. And if you don't understand that, you shouldn't be on that course, dude. It must be manipulated, otherwise it falls outside of science. It becomes pseudoscience. Do you understand?
I do, and I've said this again and again. We agree completely on that point. We just disagree about, in the case of this experiment, what the cause and what the independent variable is.
He's not gonna not piss it in our face. This is not an. Let's try a different tact. What is an experiment?
So the question for me.
Yeah. You keep saying the word experiment. We keep telling you it's not an experiment. So now I'm asking you if you understand what an experiment is.
Should I take the Cavendish experiment or try to take it?
No. I'll try and ask again. What is an experiment?
Okay, I'll try to explain this in my own words. It's basically in science, you start with some
3 words.
No.
Arwin. You have a hypothesis that you want to start with and that you want to test.
It's a 3-word answer. Can I say it, Nathan?
I don't know what you want with a 3-word answer, but please go ahead.
A hypothesis test.
Correct.
Right.
Well, I wanted to explain a little bit more around it, but I can live with that.
No, that's all it is, and it's a hypothesis test. That's all it is.
So, as you've conceded already, Sebastian, if it was an experiment, it would test a hypothesis, and you'd have an independent variable, your presumed cause, and a dependent variable, naturally observed phenomena. It would be formatted with an alternative and a null hypothesis.
Yes.
That would be then tested systematically, that hypothesis which you have formulated in the aforementioned null and alternative formatting with an IV and DV in that hypothesis, that would be validated or invalidated by, guess what? An experiment. So if we're talking about experiments, they are hypothesis tests. And when we look at the hypothesis for Cavendish, what do you know? The observed phenomena, dependent variable, is a man-made device. And the independent variable seems to be consistently switched with the dependent variable when quizzing rather ignorant globeheads like yourself. It starts off as the observed phenomena, mass attracting mass, and quickly becomes the cause, mass. Right? No, you've got lots of holes. You don't have a proof of gravity that's scientifically valid. You have nonsense, a circus sideshow with people weighing balls in a shed and claiming that torsion bar twist is a naturally occurring phenomena, which it's not.
Do you want me to respond to that, or?
Well, respond with what? What are you going to say? Oh, no, actually, we don't need an independent variable in a scientific experiment. I think this is still an experiment. What are you going to say? Either you don't know what an experiment is, or you haven't made the connections yet, despite the fact you claim to be studying this. Right? We're complete laymen. You're going through the process of being educated in science. And yet, you have asked us whether or not an independent variable is necessary in a hypothesis. Absolutely outrageous.
So we're back to the original point that you don't understand, and you need to understand it. Do you agree that you have to manipulate your independent variable to prove the effect?
Yes.
And in Cavendish, did he manipulate his independent variable, which was gravity in your words? You wanted it to be gravity. Did he manipulate gravity?
He manipulated the mass of the objects, which...
And thus invalidating his experiment, as you call it.
That would be a no then. So no. Your presumed cause, gravity. Did he manipulate it? No. You manipulate the mass directly. What you're claiming is the effect. Mass attracting mass. An effect. So, not science.
Yeah, not an experiment either. So if you leave today and you call it an experiment in future, and you've been told clearly why it's not an experiment, that makes you a liar. Understand? It wasn't an experiment because he didn't manipulate his variable.
Didn't have a hypothesis test.
Well, I can just reformulate the hypothesis. I can just say, I mean,
you can?
Making history.
Awesome. Dude, this guy has the power to completely change science.
Man, it's
no,
great.
I mean, I can do the same experiment and just
not
use
an experiment.
Not experiment.
How many
Stop
goddamn times do we have to tell you? A hypothesis test is not what the Cavendish nonsense pseudoscience sideshow circus test is. It's a nonsense sideshow circus test, not a scientific experiment. When you use the word experiment, it means a hypothesis test. And your hypothesis is if mass, then mass attracting mass. So you've got nonsense.
That's not my hypothesis.
Really? You said you vary the mass. That would mean your mass is your independent variable. And what you're trying to cause? Mass attracting mass. So if mass, mass attracting mass.
No, I'm not trying to cause mass attracting mass. I'm trying to cause a force.
Oh, so you're saying you're causing the force. Oh, my bad. So you're saying the thing that you're observing, your observed phenomena, is gravity. I'm afraid not, you stupid idiot. It's torsion bar twist. You're not observing gravity, you moron. That's not your observed phenomena. You said it was torsion bar twist. Are you really this stupid?
Well, I'm observing torsion bar twist, that's true.
Yeah, the phenomena is the thing that you observe. What you're observing, you stupid moron, is torsion bar twist. You utter retard.
No,
again, as I have stated, this is what morons who have a religious belief in gravity do. They continually conflate and interchange the cause and the effect in their quasi-experiment.
Pseudo-experiment.
Yeah,
so
it's not an experiment.
Let's go back to the point. If Cavendish didn't manipulate gravity in his so-called experiment, it falls outside of science and therefore cannot be called an experiment. But you keep referring to it as an experiment, even though we've just demonstrated it doesn't comply with the scientific experiment, the scientific method. So what are we going to do with Cavendish? Are we going to reassert that it's an experiment? Or are we going to put it where it belongs, into the bin of pseudoscience?
Not only are you missing an independent variable, but you're missing your first step of the scientific method, which is observe a natural phenomenon.
Yeah, all of it's wrong. I just want him to realize that he can't call it an experiment unless it complies with the scientific method. And we've demonstrated
these guys in amidst the non-stop obfuscation that we get from Sebastian here and have had for the last hour or so. And I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then smash the dislike button, but then smash it again. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Over on my second channel, starting shortly, will be the show that was actually aired quite a while ago this morning with Ranty. So that will go out at about 4 PM or when it's finished uploading and processing, which it's just doing now. So tune in, I'll stick a link in the info box. And then later on this evening, I will rebroadcast the pre-show and after-show, which we will continue to record now. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
That led them to formulate this law of gravity.
Right, so what's the observed
so basically suppose this is your hypothesis. So masses attract other masses. There's a force between them. That's like
what was Cavendish's observed phenomena?
If you want to know it like precisely in the experiment, he observed an angle by which the metal torsion handle turned.
Oh, really? A moment ago you said it was gravity that was the observed phenomena. Now we're back to my assertion that it's torsion bar twist,
the directly
Sebastian.
observed quantity in that experiment.
So he did observe torsion bar twist then.
The torsion bar turns.
Yeah, so the observed phenomena is torsion bar twist.
I have done this experiment myself. So.
Yeah, the observed phenomena is torsion bar twist, Sebastian.
Experiment. I have a copy if you'd like it. Have you read it?
Oops.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, so the observed phenomena is torsion bar twist. Hello? Not gravity. So you interchanged it and swapped it round and said that the phenomena was gravity. Now it's torsion bar twist. So not a natural phenomena, Sebastian, but torsion bar twist. That's what he's observing, right?
Nathan, would you mind putting my screen on?
Sure.
So this is Henry Cavendish's actual experiment. I've got it on screen. I'll make it a bit bigger. Bear with me. That big enough? Can you see that?
Oh yes, of course. I just realized he wanted to get basically a more accurate reading, so he actually like displaced the torsion bar a little bit and basically made them do an oscillation around the angle. So you can basically get a more precise reading with that when you have them swing back and forth around the.
All right, so stop. This is the actual experiment that Henry Cavendish himself did. It's dated 1798, and it comes from this citation, jstor.org. You can find it yourself. I'll give you the link if you wish. His opening line reads, Experiments to determine the density of the Earth. Henry Cavendish, Esquire, FRS and AS. So what was his hypothesis based on the title of his experiment? And it says to determine the density of the Earth. What's his hypothesis without reading any more? Experiments to determine the density of the Earth. So what's his hypothesis based on what you read? Hello.
I'm actually not sure what his hypothesis, like the way he formulated it, was.
Well, we'll come to it. But at this point, the title of his experiment that he actually wrote himself in 1798 is cited or is titled "An Experiments to Determine the Density of the Earth." Right. So, without reading any more, what do you think that his hypothesis is going to be to do with?
The mass of the Earth, or
right. So should we go to the hypothesis bit where he says what he's testing?
Sure.
Okay, it will take me a while. It's been a while since I've seen this and I need to change it. So just bear with me. In order to determine from hence the density of the Earth, it is necessary to ascertain what force is required to draw the arm aside through a given space. This Mr. Mitchell intended to do by putting an arm in motion and observing the time of its vibrations, which may easily be computed. He had prepared 2 wooden stands on which he had laden weights, and he goes on about it. So, in order to determine the density of the Earth, it is necessary to ascertain what force is required. So, which is the prerequisite and which is the consequence? The prerequisite is he's trying to determine the density of the Earth, and the consequence is that he's trying to ascertain what force is required to draw the arm through a given space. So, he's trying to work out the density of the Earth. So in your experiment claim of Cavendish, you claim that he's trying to prove gravity. I claim that he's actually trying to calculate the density of the Earth. So I'm going to ask you now, what's your evidence that the Cavendish experiment had anything to do with gravity whatsoever?
Because you need to, like, I don't know if he does the calculation in the paper, but in order to get from the force that you have between those balls and the like the oscillation of these balls on the torsion string, to get from those, to compute from those the mass of the Earth, you need to put in gravity. Like, you basically, what you do is you have a...
Okay, all right. So I asked
you need to do that.
Hang on, wait.
No, he did that. He did that. That's the way he computed it.
I asked you for the evidence that you accept that this proves gravity, and you gave me an explanation, and that didn't answer my question. But what I can do is I can read you this next paragraph in his experiment, and it reads, as the force which the balls are attracted by these weights is excessively minute, not more than 1/50 millionth of the weight, it is plain that a very minute disturbing force will be sufficient to destroy the success of the experiment. So he's trying to measure 1/50 millionth of the weight. And when he used a bowling ball, let's just say it weighed, I don't know, 3 kilograms. What's 50 millionth of 3 kilograms? And you're telling me that this experiment that he did was able to justify and prove that he was showing a force that is 50 millionths of 3 kilograms? I say no, because we know he didn't manipulate his variable, his independent variable. So are you telling me that you know how to demonstrate a 50 millionth, according to this guy, of the mass of an object to demonstrate gravity? Because if you've got some evidence to show that proof, I'd love to see it. But at this point, Cavendish, the experiment that you claim, doesn't demonstrate gravity. He's trying to weigh the mass of the Earth, and he doesn't manipulate his independent variable, and you're misrepresenting it as both an experiment and as proof of gravity, and it's neither. Now, do you still maintain that Cavendish proves gravity?
I didn't. First of all, like, he didn't prove gravity, but
yeah, that's what you said right at the beginning.
No,
You said this was an experiment that proved gravity, and that everybody could repeat this all around the world.
Right, you said it was an experiment and it proved gravity, precisely.
Yeah,
so
okay.
this isn't science, it's not an experiment, it doesn't prove gravity, there is no proof of gravity. This is our assertion.
You can't prove anything.
Sorry, we can prove things. We have a methodology for proving the cause of an effect. It's called the scientific method. If this was an adherence to it, I would accept it as scientific evidence of gravity. It isn't. You don't have that, as you keep conceding, but you also simultaneously want to assert that Cavendish experiment is a proof of gravity, which it is not.
Now, based on
Well,
this,
can I quickly answer for this to this? This is definitely this should be. I don't know the paper, but it should be in there. If you don't have gravity and if you don't put in or use Newton's formula, you can't do the.
Sorry, what do you mean if you don't use a
no
formula? We're supposed to be proving it with science. Why are you now talking about maths? Who cares about a formula that we must use according to a religious zealot? I don't care about your mathematical formula. Maths doesn't cause things. That is dealt with science.
Jesus.
But you do realize that math is quote unquote the language of nature.
Sorry,
right?
maths doesn't cause things. Maths does not cause things. Right? When they figured out that you could cure scurvy with vitamin C, right? What they had as their independent variable wasn't bloody maths. It was vitamin C. Something that they varied and manipulated to establish the cause of an effect.
That may be true, but...
No, it's not maybe true, you utter retard. It is true. It's absolutely true. That's what science does. It establishes the cause of an effect. You don't have that with science. You don't have that with Cavendish. It's not science. You don't have an experiment. It doesn't...
Sorry. E equals MC squared proves nothing, least of all gravity. Sorry. That's your little god numerology. It's the same thing. It's a hocus pocus. Okay, your little mathematics.
I didn't say this. I didn't say this.
They have given the world nothing. Nothing as far as physical proof. I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
So let's go back to Cavendish. Cavendish himself says that the force of gravity or gravitation is 1/50 millionth of its weight. That's the attractive force. He describes it as excessively minute. In science, at this point, you would be expecting his experiment to be manipulating that 1/50 millionth of force to prove that if you did it the other way, then it would cause one thing. If you did it with it, it would double it because there would be a force pulling this thing down. But this is the criteria, that the outline of the Cavendish experiment, and he himself says that it's excessively minute. He also says a very minute disturbing force will be sufficient to destroy the success of the experiment, right? So the question becomes, if this is a proof of gravity, how did he show that he had a 50 millionth of a force going the opposite way that he could manipulate, and then basically show that there was a force pulling it the other way? Because he has to distinguish it against the mass of the object, right? He didn't do that, did he? He calculated the mass of the Earth.
Well, no, he did do that. He used different masses to do this, and it's still true that it's a very small effect and very hard to measure.
Yeah, 50 millionth, 1/50 millionth is really it's that small that I'm going to assert that it's not even there, because he can't prove that it is.
Can I just clarify something with you, Sebastian? You said it's a very small effect. What would be this effect?
Excuse me, what again?
You said it's a very small effect. So at this stage, I want you to tie down precisely what that means. What effect are you talking about? What is very small? What is this very small effect that you speak of?
Oh, the turning of this torsion string.
Excellent.
Right.
So hold on, Sebastian, just bear with me. That's the end. You don't need to talk any further. So let's just get it straight. So in science, we're dealing primarily and exclusively with cause and effect. And the effect is torsion bar twist. Let's just tie that conclusively down, that the effect, not gravity, the gravity is not the effect. The effect is torsion bar twist. Can you please confirm that this is your effect?
If you want to put it like this, yes.
Oh, right.
What you directly observe in the experiment...
No, it's no further questions. It's all right. I'm running this, not you. So, your effect in a scientific experiment is your observed phenomena?
What? No.
Sorry, was that a no?
Yeah.
Sounded like it. No.
That was in.
Yes, you're trying to establish the cause of an effect, and the effect is your observed phenomena. In this instance, a very small effect of torsion bar twist. Correct, Sebastian? Talking very slowly.
Yes.
Okie dokie. And what precisely is the cause of that effect?
A force between those metal balls.
Yes, that would be the effect. We've established this. We're now moving on to what causes that effect. It seems you're now asserting it as the cause, simultaneously making it both cause and effect. No, Sebastian. Yeah, we're now moving on. We've definitely got that one pegged down. The very small effect of torsion bar twist. Now we're trying to establish a bit of science and what is the cause of those masses pulling closer together and him observing torsion bar twist. Cause, please, Sebastian.
That was the last
independent
question.
variable,
Force.
my friend. Take your time.
No, the force between those.
Oh, so the force of gravity?
Doesn't have to be.
What do you mean it doesn't have to be? We're
You
talking about
tell me,
science,
and
and we're
there is a force
slowly, like dragging a petulant child through a bush when it wants to stay in the playground. We're slowly getting you to concede what you claim to be studying, which is an independent and dependent variable relationship, cause and effect. Now we've got your effect, and now you're saying it doesn't necessarily need a cause in a cause and effect relationship, making you a total fucktard.
No, I didn't say it doesn't need a cause. The cause
Yeah, it does.
is
If
a
you're going to
force.
do science, that's why I'm going to ask you now for the third time, what is that cause? And if it's gravity, you know what my next question's going to be? How the hell are you going to vary it?
It is gravity, or
So
at least
how are you going to vary and manipulate your independent variable of gravity? Are you going to start messing with those masses now? The effect. Is this sinking
No,
in,
again, the
Sebastian?
effect
Is it
the-
sinking
the
in?
effect is the course, and is.
Are you a robot? Or
Yes,
are
is-
you a human with a brain?
Maybe I should speak slower for this person on a science course.
Can I say something now?
You can do whatever you like.
It's not that easy. Because
No
usually
shit. When you constantly
whatever.
assert that things are experiments, when we constantly tell you they're not, and when we get to the bit that we explain really painstakingly that an experiment is a hypothesis test, and then we go through the hypothesis for Cavendish, we get the effect down, the very small effect of torsion bar twist, and then when we come to what's causing it, the thing you're trying to prove, bloody gravity, you say, well, maybe we should just leave it at that. Maybe we should agree to disagree. Maybe it doesn't need an independent variable. Oh, can I speak? Maybe I should play the victim for a bit. It's really difficult. No, asshole. You don't have an independent variable for Cavendish. You don't get to vary and manipulate gravity. You'll vary and manipulate mass, won't you? So you're not varying and manipulating the thing that you're claiming is the cause. That would be gravity. You're going to vary and manipulate mass. So if you formulate that into a hypothesis, if mass, then mass attracting mass. Not if gravity, which is the thing you're trying to validate as your cause. You utter retard. I'm sick of telling you it. I've told it you about 6 times.
I want to know if he thinks you're wrong, Nathan, because he's not agreeing with you. And by that silence, it means he must not agree. Is Nathan wrong?
I think he's. I think there's a misunderstanding about the cause and effect and dependent variable with like gravity, because
Explain.
what you want to do in this kind of an experiment, especially in physics, is you want to. Physics is all about making things quantifiable, about measuring.
Sorry, that's mathematics.
Yes,
that's
what physics is.
mathematics. Sorry, I couldn't give a shit about you quantifying things. That's maths. Right? We're talking about cause and effect.
Like,
not quantifying things. What causes things? That's science. Now, don't talk to me about bloody maths.
I'm sorry, but physics
science deals with cause and effect, not quantifying things, establishing the cause. How many times?
Look, if you couldn't quantify things...
are you just going to piss it in my face for a 3rd time? We are interested in what causes things, not your mathematical quantification of it.
We're not trying to prove quantification in physics. We're trying to prove cause. Do you understand?
I do understand that, but
right, so shut up about quantifying things. I don't care whether or not you think quantifying things is proof. It isn't. If you can quantify something, that doesn't mean you've proved anything. That would be the realm of science, establishing a cause of an effect.
Come back to the real physical world and prove your nonsense.
Not maths, science. Jesus. The physical and natural world, not maths.
Sorry, this hurts your feelings.
Well, you said there was a misunderstanding.
Don't get me wrong. You're not hurting my feelings here. I mean, if you insult me, maybe a little bit, but not really. Like this is all like
the real world, the physical world, the tangible substance of the reality we live in, not maths.
So where's the misunderstanding? Is it with us, or is it perhaps with yourself?
Well, I mean, if I can't say 100% for sure. Like the reason why I'm here is because I want to understand. I want to hope that you can understand how I think, and I also want to like understand and see how you guys think. So I come here with the. Of course,
you need to believe. Okay, you need to comprehend. You need to actually comprehend it, not the same thing.
Sebastian, you understand that at some point we all believed the way you did, right? The way you do currently. You understand that, right? All the things that you believe in, like at some point, I'm pretty sure all of us did.
To some degree, certainly, yes.
Right. So now we're trying to look for the proof of the things that we were taught. And we can't find that.
Sorry, I didn't get the last part acoustically.
Say that again.
I didn't get your last part acoustically, your last sentence.
I said we're trying to find the proof of the things that we were taught, and we can't find those things. You understand that that's the problem, right?
And when we look for gravity proof and we get Cavendish and we realize it doesn't comply with science, we have a problem. But you don't think it's a problem, and we say, it is a problem.
We can find lots of stories. We can find lots of equations that tell stories. Yes, we can find those things. They don't correlate with the natural world, the substance, reality. Do you understand that, Sebastian?
Yes, I mean, I think I do. Like, I don't want to be too too sure here, but I think I do understand what your problem.
What do you mean? What our problem is?
Or like what your problem with that with this Cavendish quote-unquote
He doesn't
experiment
manipulate
is.
his independent variable, and he calls it an experiment that proves, or you call it an experiment that proves gravity, and we say that's not what he's doing, and he's not manipulating the thing that you believe he's manipulating, but somehow it's our misunderstanding. I say no.
Listen, I haven't looked into isn't the Cavendish experiment, didn't they use a ferrous, it relies on ferrous metals, right? You can't do it with...
He was measuring the mass of the Earth, but for some reason this guy thinks that he was measuring gravity or proving gravity.
Right, but didn't it utilize ferrous metals, metal balls, right?
He did.
Okay, and there's actually no such thing as a 100% non-ferrous metal. All metals have some...
Correct.
Okay, just I haven't looked at the experiment in a long time. So nobody's done it with, say, stones or wooden balls?
Arcane's done it with a bit of styrene board.
Okay, and what was the result of that?
Oh, he proved gravity. Everybody thinks he's fantastic. I'm taking the piss. Sly fucked it up and thinks that he proved something he didn't.
Okay.
So did he use? Did you say?
He done it in his bedroom with some styrene boards that he said were a wind deflector to stop drafts coming in, but really they're electromagnetically capable of holding a charge, which can indeed influence the experiment or claim of an experiment. And that wasn't original part of the original cited experiment. He didn't have styrene boards, but Sly's added them because I'm going to assert that he needed to have a little bit of a charge on one side to manipulate the experiment.
Anthony, styrene, is that styrofoam? I don't know.
Yeah, styrofoam, polystyrene. Yeah.
Okay, is it like aluminum and aluminium? Is it
So back to the question, Sebastian. What was the issue that Nathan said that you disagreed with because you were silent on it, and you must therefore disagree because Nathan said stuff? You should be agreeing with Nathan.
No, I think there's kind of a deeper and this, when I say like misunderstanding, I don't mean that necessarily that you guys are misunderstanding something. I just think that we have different, like there is a difference of opinion, or we have a different
one's pseudoscience, the other one's science.
Well,
we established before.
Maybe I can make this point that I was trying to make earlier about when you said I have to come back to the real world and not like mathematics or something.
No. I said you've got to accept that if he didn't manipulate his independent variable, it fell outside the scientific method and therefore was not science. And you did agree with that.
Yes.
But you then referred back to it as an experiment, which then defies the point that you've just agreed with me on.
No, but I've also made this point like numerous times now that I do believe that the difference is that I think that varying the masses of the balls is manipulating the
masses of the balls.
Yes, that's what I just said.
Yeah, but you're not manipulating gravity, are you?
Well, that's exactly the point where I think that you don't have to manipulate gravity, but you have to manipulate the mass of the balls to show. So
your independent cause would be the mass. We've just had this conversation for an hour. Come on.
Yes, exactly.
Right, that's not
gravity. I already said we should skip past this point because
no, we shouldn't skip past it. Don't be silly. You're making silly assertions, and you're a master's level physicist. Why would you say silly things? Come on.
And I'm saying we should skip past this because we are obviously incapable of finding any agreement on that.
No, because you're wrong and you don't want to admit it. That's the only reason why you want to skip past
it. You're incapable of accepting that you've been beaten, and you're wrong. So we're not incapable of meeting agreement. You're incapable of accepting that you are wrong in your assertion that somehow Cavendish experiment, in quotes, is scientific proof of gravity. It isn't. It's not science. It's not an experiment. It doesn't prove gravity. But yet you think that we can't find agreement. No, you're just wrong. And you can't accept that. That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll leave it at that.
So, so what? We'll leave it at you not conceding that you're incorrect, and rather that your last assertion would be that we can't find agreement when you're just wrong.
Come on, do we need to go through it again? Independent variable must be manipulated to fall within the scientific method. If he didn't manipulate his independent variable, or his independent variable was not the thing that you say it was, then it's not science. It falls outside, or you've got something wrong. He didn't manipulate gravity, did he? No. So therefore, it wasn't science. It wasn't the science that you believe it was. So either you've got it wrong, or he didn't manipulate the thing that you think he did. So it's that one or the other. Don't care which, but it doesn't prove gravity.
Anyway, I've got something really interesting to talk to you guys about.
Killed it.
I know, but the guy's you're not getting anywhere with him.
May I just, for the sake of understanding, ask you 1 minute a question, Sebastian? Is it okay for everyone?
The moment's dead now. Yeah, ask anything you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Dead. You spent 3 hours, you're not getting through to him.
No,
Yeah,
I wanted him to concede that it wasn't an experiment.
Yeah, I didn't change a single word with him. So just for the sake of understanding, according to Einstein's gravity, right? Every time I move an object, I manipulate gravity, don't I? Is it true or is it false?
According to well, it's the bending of space-time. It's not that you move it; it moves it. Apparently, you're the effect. You move isn't.
I asked. I asked Sebastian about it since he studies it. Don't you?
I mean, I'm not like an expert in gravity per se, but
Are you an expert in science, scientific method particularly?
I use it.
Right.
I mean,
so
that wasn't really. Can I please answer to that question? So,
all right.
Oh, just 1 second.
Well, no, just because as I remembered, not that I say I completely believe in Einstein's gravity because I could never prove it for myself. Yet once you move anything, according to Einstein, you change space-time, which kinda could be seen as manipulating gravity, which would in this case.
How are you going to prove the bending of space-time then?
Yeah, this is a problem. Yet, if you look at the Cavendish experiment from the viewpoint of Einstein's gravity, once you move the masses, you manipulated gravity, so you manipulated the independent variable from the view of Einstein. Yet from Newton,
but from the viewpoint of science, your independent variable is your cause of your experiment, your cause of your dependent variable, the effect. So if you want to go with Einstein's bending of space-time as justification for science, be my guest, I'll laugh at you.
No,
hello?
I was wondering from which viewpoint he saw gravity, right? Not
come across something really excellent I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
Oh no, sorry. Am I on the Hangout now?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
He had to leave anyway, Sebastian. So this is doesn't matter anymore.
I just can't believe he wouldn't concede that it's neither an experiment nor did it prove gravity. It's just like you're a physicist, dude. The fuck?
Yeah, if I might jump in, I don't know.
Ego. Dude, the guy was clearly just unable to overcome his pride. It's like serious ego issues.
Go on. What were you going to say? If somebody spoke them with a deep voice,
it could have been
that was me.
It could have been an experiment to, like an magnetism experiment. I guess the way it was set up, right?
It wasn't an experiment. What he was trying to do was measure the mass of the Earth. How he gets to proving gravity is beyond me.
Yeah, no, I get that. No, I mean just the whole Cavendish little contraption he built. I guess the only thing I can see that could have been experimenting with was the magnetism of metal balls. I mean,
yeah. If you change the mass of the balls, then it's going to have an effect. Well, what's the effect? Well, that's an independently thing. You've got to manipulate that independent variable to prove that it's an effect.
Right.
And that's assuming that it even does what it says he does, because when he says that people have repeated this experiment throughout the world, they just haven't. They've done it, and basically you can lie about it and you can make it do things that with just by little tiny forces that you can't. It's falsifiable, but also fraud, like easily to manipulate that it's not doing what you think.
Results are nearly always inconsistent.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's chaotic. It's just.
Nathan, are you still here?
Isn't Coulomb's law very similar to gravity, Newton's gravity? The formula for Coulomb's law?
Say that again.
I was wondering if isn't Coulomb's law very similar to Newton's gravity equation?
Yes, they're both basically the same equation.
Which law?
Right. Coulomb's law.
Not even. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with that at all.
Oh, Coulomb's law is the law that states that you can use that to calculate the attraction between two charged particles.
Oh, right, okay. So what you're saying is perhaps he's used that mathematics and called it an attractive force that's based on mass rather than based on electricity.
That's
my idea. It's very possible.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we're looking at. We're dealing with.
Is Nathan still here, or is he gone?
I'm here. I'm just trying to concentrate on something else because I've got two premieres that are both at 95% processed and they're just sat there. I don't know what to do. Normally I'd have a show running on my second channel now, and it's just neither of them want to work. So I am here, but I'm just concentrating on something else.
And wait,
Wiggles.
Yeah.
Question? What do you think, Cavendish? What do you think about the Cavendish experiment? Do you think that proves something, or do you think it's even an experiment?
Well, I'm not familiar with the Cavendish experiment, so I wouldn't really be able to comment on it.
Okay. Cool.
Who's it that's speaking with the lower voice?
What's that?
That gent there that's speaking, the one that's just said, "What's that? What's your name?"
Wiggles.
Oh, Wiggles.
Yes. Hello.
I'm surprised you came in today after your ass kicking from the other day.
Yeah, I was wondering to try and clear that up because it seems like, well, eventually I just gave up and said, yeah, I'm wrong, just to kind of appease you guys, but I didn't really think I had other things to do.
What was the issue?
We were talking about that curve calculator, and we were disagreeing on whether it was right or not.
I can't remember what the issue was. What was the context?
I had a calculator to calculate how much of an object would be obstructed due to the curve of the Earth.
Oh, yeah, it was perspective, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was saying, and I had an example actually that might show why you don't need to account for perspective in the curve calculator.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your example?
So my example would be, suppose you were drawing like an engineering schematic of a comb, like a comb that you comb your hair with. And obviously, if you look at a comb from the side on, each of the teeth are going to be smaller and smaller as they get farther away from you. But when you draw the engineering schematic of the comb, you're going to draw each tooth at the same size.
Yeah, that's not helping you. That's working against you. Because what you're doing there is showing that it has to check. As you go from orthographic to perspective view of the camera, you have to reduce the size of the teeth.
You've just done our point, literally just made our point for us. In fact, that's probably the best explanation I can think of. We've been using telegraph poles and lampposts in the past, but yeah, a comb is absolutely perfect for our point of view.
I would say it's perfect for my point of view because you draw each tooth like the same size.
Yeah, but do you not understand that the fact that when it's orthographic, it doesn't change its size is our point?
Wiggles.
We're not saying that it physically changes its size.
Anthony, I just want to ask him a quick question. So, Wiggles, do you think that we're comparing the comb in a drawing to your calculator, or are we comparing, for example, the image on screen now that was taken by a camera?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm saying, are we building a comb, or are we using your perspective omitting calculator to analyze photographs?
Well, it's not that, you can use my calculator to analyze photograph. Well, you can just use it to test whether or not the Earth is round.
You can't.
Sorry.
Test whether the Earth's round or not means measuring a curve.
Wiggles. So you think that the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking calculator can be used to test whether or not the Earth is round? It already has a radius value. So you're not testing that it's round, my friend. You're automatically assuming that it is round. You have a radius value in there.
Yeah, what you do is you assume the Earth is round, you use the calculator, and then you can look at a photo and see if the photo matches up with what.
Assume.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, but we're not trying to assume anything,
right?
Man.
We don't assume the Earth is round, Wiggles. You do. You assume the Earth is round, and you assume that when comparing a photograph that includes perspective, it is acceptable to compare something that is used for making combs as opposed to analysing photographs.
I still don't think I still don't think he can wrap his head around that. We're not assuming. You know, it could be a Rubik's cube we're living on. It could be a cylinder.
Hold on,
but
let's
we're
just
not
try this,
assuming...
Eric. See, hold on a second. See these trees on my screen right now, Wiggles?
Yeah, I see the trees.
Right, if those trees were further away and represented like your comb, they'd be the same size, wouldn't they?
If they were farther away, well, there's a difference between like a photograph of something and like an engineering schematic of the
Holy
geometry.
fuck, no shit, you absolute fucking retard. That's our point, you stupid idiot. Yes, photographs don't match schematics because it's not reality, you utter retard.
Well,
what part of fuckwit are you? Are you really this fucking stupid?
Like,
the question is, are you this stupid? Are you this stupid? Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Schematics don't match fucking reality. And that's what you're doing. You're comparing my reality, a photograph, with a schematic drawing. And that's not what we get in the photograph.
But
you have to understand, Wiggles, an orthographic view deals with absolute sizes, right? Like, do you not understand that? Like, when you're using that calculator, it's dealing with like that. This tower is, let's say, 100 feet tall. It's going to stay 100 feet tall regardless of, you know, the position of where the areas you're calculating it from. But when you take a picture, you have to apply perspective because we know that things with distance reduce in angular size.
Like this tree.
Not physically, just, you know, observably.
Like this tree.
Yeah,
it's got observably smaller, Wiggles, the tree. Now, on a side elevation drawing, that tree would be the same size on the left-hand side of the picture as it would be on the right-hand side of the picture. Now, your left-hand side is close to the observer, your right-hand side is away from the observer with distance. But surprisingly, in an orthographic representation, the teeth of the cone stay the same size, unlike a tree when you get further away from it.
Yeah, but is it not true, though, that you could use, like, an orthographic, like a schematic drawing to draw the object accurately? Or to fabricate the object
Sorry, we're not drawing it. We are photographing it and using a calculator that excludes perspective to analyse it. And that's wrong. Because, as you can see, things get smaller with distance.
Yeah, but you don't draw them smaller when you draw the schematic of it.
Sorry, we're not... I'll say it again. Because you are deaf. We are not drawing this tree. I have a smegging photograph of it. Now, what you're going to do is analyse that photograph with something that's only useful for schematics, because it doesn't include the very real fact that things in the distance are smaller. In your world, they say the same size on the left-hand side of the page, close to your observer, and on the right-hand side of the page, far away from your observer. That little stick that you draw will remain the same size, yet in our pictures that you're analysing, they do not.
Well, you don't need to draw. There's no observer when you draw a picture of something.
I'll say it a third time. We are not drawing.
Wiggles, can I ask you something?
Sure, yeah.
If we're analyzing a picture, which is, you know, an image of real life, why would we have to draw another picture to analyze the first picture?
Right.
The idea is the reason that you would draw a picture is because the picture is a 2D model of the thing that you're taking a picture of.
Sorry, we don't see 2D. This on screen now is not 2D, right? And what happens in 2D side elevation is the tree stays the same size regardless of the distance. So it doesn't work to do that. That is our point, Wiggles.
It does work to do that, though.
No, it only works if you exclude perspective, if you're trying to reinsert the actual effects of things getting smaller into the distance and call them curve. That's what's being done. You ignore the fact that things get smaller, the angular size reduces, and you call that effect bloody curve. Because in a side view, surprisingly, the thing that you claim maintains its size with distance actually gets smaller. But you're going to call that effect curve.
I'm not sure how to... I don't think that it's possible for me to explain it to you in a way that you'll understand.
You arrogant piece of shit.
Wiggles, let's try it this way. With your comb, right?
Yep.
When you're looking at it side on, and all the teeth, all the tooths are all the same, that's orthographic, correct? If it was not necessary to change to account for perspective, when you turn it 90 degrees and you look down the length of it, all the teeth would stay the same size. They would appear to be the same size, and you would only see one tooth. That would be then the case that you don't need to adjust for perspective. But because you have to adjust for perspective, because we see things do get smaller, that means that you can't use orthographic representation to demonstrate curvature on the z-axis, because you're not reducing the size of the target in accordance with perspective. Only if the teeth on the comb all stayed the same size when you turn it side on would you then be correct. That's the opposing position. Do you understand now the difference?
Yeah, I think you're confused is my response there.
Which bit do you think I'm confused about?
When you're drawing a picture of something, you just draw it as if it's a model. Like if you were going to make a model city, you'd make each of the house, like each of the buildings and each of the cities the same.
Our point. When you apply
that's not if you draw a picture of. That's when you make schematics. A picture.
There's two kinds of drawings.
Yeah, painting a picture, a view picture is different from a schematic.
He thinks there's one kind of way to draw.
No, there's many kinds of ways to draw.
Well, you're talking about a schematic.
Yeah, but Wiggles, if you're drawing a picture, I'm sorry, Eric, but if you're drawing a picture that doesn't match what we see in the picture that we're trying to analyze, how does that work? How does that work? How can you use that to analyze a picture that doesn't show what you're showing in the second picture that you're drawing?
Have to ask him what kind of picture are we drawing? Are we drawing something that's going to be hung on our wall? That looks
the point is, why are we even drawing a picture in the first place? Why don't we just analyze the picture that we have that was taken with a camera that represents real life, instead of drawing a 2D picture that's not only does not match what's showing in the original picture that you're supposed to be analyzing, but it just doesn't work. It's a drawing when we have an actual picture.
It's the fact that when you turn the comb sideways and the teeth then get smaller because of perspective, not orthographic, it's because of that reason that you're applying the maths wrong. You have to account for perspective. That's our point. I know you don't get it, but you do get it, but you don't realize that your opposing position is only valid if the teeth on the comb didn't change their size when you turned it. Then it would be the case that you don't need to adjust for perspective. I hope that makes sense.
I still think you're confused, Sleeping Warrior.
Okay.
Because the if you're interested in what's the actual, what you're interested in is the actual height of the tooth of the comb, or like the height.
No, listen up, Wiggles. I'll say this really slowly. The actual size is how you misrepresent reality. The relative size is how we actually see things. So while you assert that we are interested in the actual sizes of things, no, you are interested in the actual sizes of things because that's where you get your curve from.
Well, all this kind of is fun to talk about, but what actually another point I was going to bring up is I had write this picture of a boat as it's sailing away, and I know you guys have probably seen a million pictures of boats, but like it's true that like you can't see, like I'm sharing my screen now, like it's true that you can't see the whole boat as it sails away. Like the boat kind of appears hidden below the ocean.
Right, appears. Right, so are you going to prove that it is hidden behind a curve?
Well, because you can look at it and see that it is hidden behind the ocean.
Oh, sorry, that would be an assertion of a religious belief based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator that ignores all aspects of perspective. So when we start dealing the angles out to you here, you're going to tell me that they're not relevant because you represent the world in a side view.
Well, Nathan and Sleeping Warrior, I don't know, can you guys see my screen right now?
Yeah, I can see your screen with a very limited angle to the bottom of a boat. Right? A limited angle. Something that is excluded when you put this in side view. Because according to a side view, we have a direct line of sight with it. It hasn't altered in all in terms of its angular size at distance. Because that's completely ignored, isn't it? Not necessary. So when I start detailing how the angular size will reduce with distance, what are you going to do? Stick your fingers in your ears and tell me that your side view doesn't need to account for that?
Well, the side view doesn't, because they're...
Yeah, no shit! You utter retard! That's our point!
Whoa.
How many times are you going to assert my point to me like it's somehow a rebuttal?
I notice when I assert the point, it seems to confirm to me that the Earth is a globe, and then when I...
No, what you do is you hijack perspective and put us in a side elevation. When I point out that your side elevation says that this stuff shouldn't be obscured because you simultaneously ignore every aspect of perspective and the angular relationships between these things, you're going to tell me that a side view doesn't need that. We're not looking at a side view! Do you understand that, you stupid moron? We are not looking at a side view here. Do you get it? This isn't a side view, Wiggles. We're not looking at the side of our own head. We can't see the photographer. Do you get it?
We're looking at a picture of a boat. And
right, so we're not looking at a side view, are we?
No, we're not.
Right, so why the hell are you going to now show us a side view and tell me that we should see it when it completely ignores all aspects of angular relationships?
As a side view, you can use that.
Sorry, we're not looking at a side view. We are not looking at a side view. Are you dumb?
Nathan, guys, an idiot.
We're not looking at a side view, Wiggles, you utter retard. This is not a side view.
Wiggles, wait, Nathan. Please do a Google image search. Can you show us a side view of an item, of an object, please? Just so we don't even know what a side view is. Please. Google image, side view of something.
He knows all the elements. He's just not clicking anymore. He's completely scrambled in his
You're right, Arwin. The guy's just thick. He's got a mental blockage. He's basically retarded. You stupid Wiggles. This isn't a side view, so every time you say but in a side view, like we care about how you misrepresent the world with a perspective exclusive side view.
Wiggles, listen. The key word comes from what happens when you turn the comb sideways. Because the teeth then shrink, because you've turned it that way, that's why you've got to adjust for perspective. If it didn't do that when you turn the comb sideways, then you're right, you wouldn't have to, you could use the absolute. But because it does it, when you turn it side on, you have to adjust for perspective.
You don't draw, like, if you were drawing the comb like that, then you
we're not drawing. Oh my god, this is so frustrating. We're not drawing. It's a photograph, Wiggles. We're not drawing it.
To draw a comb?
Hello, we're not drawing these boats. We're not drawing them. It's a photograph. You draw it to misrepresent what the photograph does. You're not going to draw it. We're stopping you and saying that's the problem. When you draw it, you exclude what actually happens in the photo.
Like, are you going to draw the comb like the way you see it on... Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
Why are we drawing anything when we are analysing what we see through the lens of a camera?
Well, what's the right way to draw the comb? The way you see it on
the left? We're not drawing! Are you deaf? Are you deaf or just literally as thick as two short shites? We're not drawing it.
Nathan, I'm wondering if you're thick.
Oh, really? You think this is funny, do you? Right. You need to draw it to remove perspective. We're saying we're not drawing it, we're looking at a bloody photograph. And you say, well, if I was to draw it, no. You need to draw it so you can misrepresent what we see. We're not drawing it, and we're telling you that we don't need to.
I'm drawing it to represent.
How are you drawing that to represent what you see if what you see is not in the picture? What you're drawing is not in the picture.
You're drawing a model of it.
Here we go.
Why? But we don't. But models are suicide.
Why do we need to model it?
We don't live on a model.
Right. We look at the photo, that's what we see. We don't see your vision of a model. That's something you're going to create after the fact when studying our photograph. And when you do, you exclude perspective. So you're going to model reality without perspective, aren't you, Wiggles?
Wiggles.
I want him to say yes. You are going to model reality without
schematic of an object.
No. We're not modeling schematics. We're modeling reality, and you're going to model reality without perspective, aren't you, Wiggles?
You don't need to can you guys see my screen right now?
Sorry, are you going to tell me that you don't need perspective when you're modeling something? You are going to model reality without perspective.
Nathan,
aren't you, Wiggles? Not Nathan. Yes, Nathan. I'm going to model reality without perspective. Yes, Nathan. That's what I'm waiting for, Wiggles. Yes, what I'm about to do is create a model and it will not include perspective. Correct?
Yeah, because you don't need to include perspective.
We are not
like 20 times.
going to exclude perspective from our reality, Wiggles. That's what you will do when you claim to be modelling reality. And as you've just admitted, you will be modelling reality without perspective. But we do have perspective, so your modelling of reality is wrong, Wiggles, because it doesn't include perspective.
Yeah, well, I was just curious to try and see if we could agree on this, but I don't think we can.
What, agree on modelling reality without perspective? No, Wiggles, we won't agree to modelling reality without perspective. That's what you need to do to misrepresent reality and insert curve when it's actually perspective.
Wiggles, let me ask. When you draw your comb sideways and you put all your teeth the same size, why do you reduce the teeth when you draw the comb when you turn it 90 degrees?
As these baller tards go through the same explanation over and over and over again, only to deny and tell us that we must exclude perspective from our reality, I will say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the audience in the premiere of the Nathan Oakley channel, and of course a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. Smash that dislike button, but then smash it again. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!